Hello, hello. Yes, and welcome. It's UK Cowboys TV. It's season 1, episode 8. And I'm your host, Mike. And today, this week, we've got the All Celt cast. We've got Graham with us and we've got Jonesy. You both all right there, guys?
Yeah, good.
8 episodes in. 8 episodes. How did we manage that?
I know. Did you see the numbers? I sent some numbers over, some facts and figures about it all. Some pretty good support we're getting out there, which, by the way, I'd like to thank everyone for. So thank you, everybody, for all the...
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Yeah, great. So this week, we'll briefly touch on last week's Tampa game. I know, obviously, it's pretty much a game, as we always expect, the final preseason game, where we just look at the final tier of players, if you like, the ones trying to fight or either for the Cowboys or on a roster in general in the NFL. So obviously the result speaks for itself. We lost 17-15. You guys, are you worried about that sort of loss in that particular game?
Not even a little bit, no.
Nah.
So what we'll be looking at is we're going to break down the 53-man roster that's come out. But from the Tampa game, were there any rookies? Were there any rookies? Any rookies who stood out to you that really in that final game made a real fight for themselves to get on that roster?
Looking at how wide receiver ended up, I think if John Bear didn't get injured, we'd be looking at a very different wide receiver roster, or a slightly different. I think he makes that. I think or at least he's in a very, very good position to make that, but we're never going to know, really. If they do play well this year, if that whole core plays well this year, then it's going to be very interesting to see who they drop next year to get him in. I guess, you'd probably lose an offensive lineman somewhere, but then you're rolling with 9. So, yeah. But yeah, for me, he was probably the person who, coming up towards the end of the game before he got injured, I was like, he's making this team. He's done it. He's just out there for the motions now. Looking back at what obviously the 53 is out, who's actually made it. I think he's probably was the most likely in my mind anyway.
Okay. G-Man?
Yeah, just having a quick look on NFL.com. It's interesting to see that Mike Weber actually got most carries in the preseason. 22 attempts, 54 yards, and 2.5 per attempt, which is telling. Seventh round pick. You're not surprised. Encouraging to see Donovan Wilson make the team. 3 interceptions over the preseason. Brilliant. You can't ask for any more than that, especially with the depth that we've got at cornerback. I can see why a lot of fans look at the preseason, especially the 4th game, and think, this isn't our brand. This isn't what we want to put out. Just looking at the crowd against the Buccaneers, a lot of empty seats. Dak in sweatpants and a t-shirt and so on. So. Yeah, ready for preseason to be over with, to be honest.
Yeah, we can all do that dance that we were doing earlier. Now, in terms of the 2 quarterbacks that played in that game, we have both Mike White and Terry Christian. Now, have either of them, in your opinion, done enough to get into a practice squad or in a backup role? And how do you really see their careers going forward? From what you've seen this year, how do you project their careers? Go on, Jonesy, you take us off.
To be honest, I wasn't paying that much attention to the Bucks side of things. In all honesty, I was focusing a lot more on our side.
Okay.
Have they landed anywhere yet?
Christian's on the practice squad from what I've read.
Right. Okay.
Mike, I haven't seen any news on him as yet.
I'm surprised by that, from what I can vaguely remember of the game. But again, how much depth have they really got?
The issue being Mike White in the last game, he was 14 of 26. So nearly 50% completion rate, 132 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah, you're never really going to have a great, or you shouldn't really have, in my mind, great quarterback play in the fourth preseason game anyway, because you've got your third and fourth string quarterback with your third and fourth string wide receivers, with your third and fourth string offensive line, and I don't know. I mean, there's a reason other positions have a whale of a time in the fourth preseason game compared to those guys. But yeah, and I think that's probably why Mike Webber didn't have a great time either. Really, I mean, if he had a better line to run behind, things would be probably a lot different, or at least be better than just over 2 yards to carry. I don't see Mike White. I'm no quarterback guru by any stretch of the imagination, not in any position really, but I don't perceive Mike White doing that much anywhere really. He may end up somewhere, but it's going to be bottom of the roster, and he's going to need a Dak Prescott-esque sort of situation to get anywhere near the field really.
Which is a shame, because I mean there was such high hopes for him, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like Richard, I kind of have a certain level of sympathy for them, because they don't have Smith at left tackle, they don't have Cooper on the outside, they don't have Zeke Black pass blocking for them. But to watch the game, I watched the game in 40 minutes again, and you know his offensive line did not do him any favours. I have taken a note. Number 63, if you could jog my memory. Jake Campos, I think his name is. He's a turnstile. He had a horrible game. They actually took him out in the fourth quarter. So I don't see them ending up anywhere. You know, Christian even committed the cardinal sin. You know, carrying the ball, fumbled, then they fumbled, and then they recovered for a touchback. I mean, it just screams second team, third team quality, and yeah, it's tough to see them landing anywhere, to be quite honest, especially when you consider that the Patriots, and not the Patriots, the Colts just picked up Hoyer today. You know, just off the street.
They have him.
You know, they have so many guys that have been and done it. I don't see why they would persevere with somebody like Mike White, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, so leading off that now, we're going to get into breaking down the 53-man roster. So the Cowboys made 37 cuts. One of them, funnily enough, being Jake Campos. He was one of them that got cut. So we're going to go break it through. We'll break it down. We'll start with the offense. We'll start with the most obvious, the quarterback. Were you guys shocked, or is this exactly what you were predicting, Dak and Rush?
Yeah, pretty much exactly that. I wasn't expecting them to go out and get an ex-Eagles guy, but such is the way. But then it goes to show just how unimpressed they were with Mike White, even given he's a rookie. I mean, third string. You touch wood that he's not going to get anywhere near, but you know, it's happened to this team in relative recent history. So maybe it's fresher in their minds, and maybe they worry about it a bit more. But no surprises there, really. I think it'd be hard pressed to find someone who's surprised by that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, Graham, were you at all surprised with that, or that maybe that they didn't get a veteran quarterback to take a third spot there, or that exactly what you were looking for?
No, I think I expected that. I think with the amount of deals we have to do at the moment, with the amount of deals we have to get done, we do not need $4 million tied up in a quarterback who sits on the bench every week. I think it's generally taken as read that if your QB goes down, your season is pretty much done. You're looking for a game manager, and if Cooper Rush can come in and get us X amount of wins or get us over the line in so many games, I think that's his job. I don't see him. If anybody loses their win, they will struggle. I don't see why you should pull somebody off the street, give them X amount of $1 million per year when they're on the street for a reason. They're not gonna step in there and win you 10 games. You know,
Yeah.
I'm quite happy with this current situation. I think Cooper Rush has won the job fair and square, and good luck to him.
All right, now we're going to get into a bit of controversial, the more controversial position you're running back, right? Only because what the hell is going on?
This is where I want one of those signs from QI that just goes, nobody knows.
Yeah. Now, I mean, on the roster, we've got Tony Pollard, Alfred Morris, and obviously we've got Jameis Olawale, but in the fullback position. Now, they have put Chun out of the practice squad into an active role. Whether that stays, I don't know. Whether that's more of a message to Zeke's agent, but we know Zeke is going to be there. So you've got your 3 running backs. But while we're at this particular position, we may as well go with it. Do you think he gets signed before week 1?
Yes, I still do, because I still don't see him missing a game check. I still don't see that. And I don't see him wanting to miss just a game. I don't see him wanting to have that effect, like when we had Broadus on a couple of weeks ago and he said mentally the effect that'll have on the team. I don't think he wants that. Went out of his way a couple of days ago, I think it was last week, to say that he wants to be a Cowboy. He loves being a Cowboy. He wants to be a Cowboy forever. The way that it's gone over the weekend and over the past couple of days, there's very, very much mixed messages going around. And basically, from what I can see, the way it looks is the situation is what it is. I think they are about 85-90% there. But Zeke's team are very much on the positive end of wanting to frame it as, we're nearly there, this is going to get done, which is where all the positive stuff came out of on Saturday, saying they're really close, it could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, if not, it's going to happen possibly Monday, latest Tuesday. Then on the flip side, you've got what it seems like to be coming out of the Cowboys camp is a bit more, no, we're not there yet. There's actually a fair amount of ground that we're not close on. This is not near a done deal yet. They're making it seem more like sort of 50-50 or 60-40. Which, I mean, that's just negotiating, really. I think the Cowboys probably know that Zeke doesn't want to miss a game, that he doesn't want to alienate his teammates, and he doesn't want to fuck up what's probably a really, really good chance of making a run this year with the team that they've built. And if I was in Jerry or Stephen's position, this is exactly what I would be doing. I'd be running that campaign out in the media and everywhere else and just saying, no, we're not close, because he's not coming down to where he needs to be. Because at the minute, the momentum is seeming like it's starting to shift. Potentially it's been Zeke's side, as well as maybe a mix of that, or instead possibly trying to put some negativity on the Cowboys side, because obviously there has been a lot towards Zeke from a large portion of the fan base saying like, oh, you should be honouring your contract, you've got 2 years yet, blah, 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 and you want all this money. But yeah, it's a bit of a crazy one. I think generally reading between the lines and using a bit of comment, I think we're probably near enough there. I do think he gets signed before week 1. Whether he plays in week 1 at the minute is a question, because are they going to want to drop him in straight away? Does he play the whole game? Does it affect, if he does play, does it affect his snap count? Because even though the Giants have fixed their offensive line, I don't think it's going to be that great. Even though I haven't been paying as that much attention to it, I've paid a bit of attention to the other NFC East teams, and I don't think it's going to be that great. I think our defense is going to destroy them, especially the line. Eli Khan hasn't even got anyone to throw deep to anymore, so running backs are going to have a whale of a time, and Tony Pollard can do that. So, yeah, I think they're going to be very cautious with him when he does come back. At least, they're not going to just straight away throw him in expecting to be perfect and with the scheme, because that's the other thing. He's been away from this team and away from the scheme and all these practices, and the more recent ones behind closed doors of late. So he's not as up to date. The stuff he did with the scheme is all the way back in OTAs. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not massively worried yet. ask me again on Saturday. And if he's not signed, I'll have a different answer for you. But there we go.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered the ground there. But moving on to tight ends, I think there's no surprises there. Witten, Jarwin, Schultz. We pretty much can break down that if we really wanted to, but we know what's going on there. But if we move to wide receivers, and I get your opinion on this, Graham, we've got 5 wide receivers. Amari Cooper, who has reported into training today for the first time since he's had the heel issues, so that's good news. Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb, and then the bottom 2, Tavon Austin and Devin Smith. Do they surprise you at all, Graham?
I don't think so. I think Tavon Austin has his place on special teams. Yeah. He's not here for a particularly large amount of money. Devin Smith, I would say, took any opportunity he had. But I'm set with that set of receivers. I think that'll turn out well for us. Are
you surprised Cedric Wilson didn't make that final cut, and that they're only taking 5 wide receivers?
I don't know if there's a great amount of flash there with them. I think it's not really a name that rolls off the tongue, and unless you're going to come in and be somebody, if you're going to push for a start, if you're going to take out Tavon Austin as a kick returner, or if you're going to take out one of the top 3 starters, it doesn't really. I can see why they've done it. I mean, when I think of Cedric Wilson, nothing springs to mind in terms of a strength. I mean, they see them every day. I'm sure they've got their guys, and now that Cooper's back, I think that's eased the situation as well. I think he'll step in, start being Coop, and we'll be fine. I think you'd be splitting hairs with Cedric Wilson. I think
okay. No, that's fine. That's cool. All right, so we'll look into the offensive line, because this is the one where we got a couple of surprises that came in. So on offensive tackle, we got the crown jewel. We got Tyron Smith. We got Lyle Collins on the other side. Cam Fleming playing as the swing, and one of the rookies. So there's 7 rookies taking this year. One of them being Brandon Knight. I mean, was that a shock to either of you?
Generally, overall, it was a shock that they took 11. I mean, I know they've moved. What's his name over to IR now?
McGovern.
Yeah. And obviously, they've then moved Chun up, presumably until the Zeke deal is done. I mean, that's the obvious thing. But then Chun can fill in anywhere on special teams. But yeah, that was more the general thing, really. I mean, when you look at the guys in the offensive line, there's no one there that's. When you've actually sat down, you've gone through an off-season and you've looked at them all, there's no one there that really massively shocks me. I mean, there's a few like, oh, really? Okay, I kind of get it. But no one that shocks me. It's more the fact that they took 11, which I think is that more worries about durability with the recent back issues with Smith and Martin.
I think it was more the 11 because they always have plans with McGovern, I think, to move him to IR.
Mm-hmm. But even then, you've still got 10. That's
I know, yeah.
A fair amount, really. The only other thing is potentially trade bait. I mean, it's always a struggle. It's always a struggle in the season to get guys. If you've got them early on, really, you want to keep them. Someone somewhere in one of the other 31 teams, even potentially quite early, they're going to need an offensive lineman. Hopefully, it's not us. But if someone needs someone further down the roster starts to look very, very appealing in a trade. Especially when it's something as big, someone that you need to play, like an offensive lineman. It's not as easy just to move someone around, really. You need a tackle or you need a guard. So, I mean, that could potentially be a very smart move by the personnel department more than anything, really, just to get some picks for next year. We'll see how it goes. That was my biggest surprise. It's just that they took 11. Or 10, as you can view it. But
yeah. So I mean, on the other side, on the defensive line, they took 10 guys. Anyone? I mean, they kept Joe Jackson one of the rookies. Anyone on the defensive side, on the defensive line, Graham, that stands out to you or shocked you, or was it exactly how you expected?
I think it was exactly how I expected, really.
Yeah.
I highlighted, a need for tackle to step up in the earlier podcast, and I think he's done that. I mean, you could argue that. I mean, from defensive tackle, I'd like to see more from Tristan Hill. I know he's only a rookie. I get that, and I realise that Rod Marinelli has ways of doing things, and he's going to take time to step into the system. I do like the look of Kerry Hyder. He's come in, flashed on occasion. I'm happy with the defensive line. I think we asked for a reaction in the Houston game, and we got it. So, I think that the pass rush is there. Defensive tackle, they've tried to address in the draft. Hopefully, that has a bit more of a focus on the run.
But, what you've also got to remember is when you look at the 10 guys, you've also got to take into account that obviously Robert Quinn is out for 2 games, and you've got whatever's going on with Randy Gregory. So there's a lot of movement on that side that could go, that can go up and down there and can come in and out.
Which begs the question: is that also a trade bait for exactly the same reason as you'd want to keep offensive linemen in the year, because something's going to happen to a defensive lineman somewhere in the league this year, and someone is going to be looking for a defensive lineman. And when you've got people coming back like Quinn and hopefully potentially Gregory, you can probably afford to lose someone relatively decent from that line to get a higher level pick or picks.
I mean, you've got, I suppose you could move Christian Covington is something, but would you want to move somebody as low as that, because that's all you're going to get back? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I've got high hopes for Malik Collins and Anton Woods. I mean, both of them have been, Malik Collins in training camp and preseason's just been electric.
Yeah.
But then we probably move on to the, I don't know what you want to call this position, the linebacker position. It was at one point a couple of years back the weak spot, if you like, especially with Sean Lee always being injured, but now it seems to be the position of strength. We got the big 3 that we know of. We kept Justin March and Luke Gifford, which is a bit of a shock. But the guy who's sort of going to be the in-between guy, Joe Thomas, how do you think he's performed during preseason?
Good. Good. Had a good camp. Showed up pretty well in the last 2 games. He's done good. He did enough to make this roster. I think that is the best linebacking core in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
At the minute, 100%. And I think he brings some much needed flex with that, and a nice bit of depth. I wouldn't be massively concerned if he had to step in if one person was out, be it in a rotation. I wouldn't be massively concerned because he's got 2 other guys there that can help him along. And even though the 2 of those guys are very young, they are very, very good and very, very switched on. They're probably, I think, from looking at them play football smarts, they're up there with like Travis Frederick. Their football smarts, very intelligent guys. So I'm not concerned about that position at all. As like you said, it's a strength of our team. 100%, but it's the strength of a strong team and a strong defense.
What do you predict with the linebackers, Graham, in terms of Sean Lee? How are they going to use him? Are they going to use him sparingly and lightly, just because of the injury concerns?
I would hope so. It pains me to see Sean Lee's injury history. He's one of my favourite players. I have his jersey. I think when you look back on the way that the Broncos used DeMarcus Ware, situational pass rush and all that kind of stuff, he had a great season. So if Sean Lee can step in, even as a bit of respite, a shoulder on the sideline. Still presence in the locker room. You've got Van der Esch. There's a reason why he starts. Absolutely electric. That's the exact reason they've given Smith the deal. Because they know they've got a solid player. Doesn't need top money. Quite happy to put the helmet on and play for the Cowboys. Van der Esch, exactly the same mold. I think it's no coincidence that Sean Lee's still on the roster because he wants to be there, and two, he's such a massive influence as well. I mean, they perform so well in both, pass and rush. It's incredible how much they fly to the football. Whenever you see anybody break the D line, one of them's always there. They just fly. I mean, it's amazing the ground that they cover when you consider there's only three of them. Three. Like Rich says, a credit to the team, and they're both so young when you consider how quickly they've come out of the draft and performed. That's an exciting area for the team. Can't wait to see that.
That is that rotation is deadly because you've got those top three guys. Because all three of those guys and Sean Lee, when healthy, can play a game full go from start to finish, playing a lot of snaps. If the offense is not playing that great, because we saw it happen last year. Justin March, he could probably do it as well. So then you've got Joe Thomas as well. The rotation in, trying to keep those guys fresh so that they can fly to the ball a lot easier and a lot quicker later on in games is brilliant. And that attitude is Rod Marinelli all over. Because if you remember back, I think it was the 2014 season, where he was pretty much the only name on the team was Sean Lee on the entire defense, really, that was like the best player. And when he wasn't in, the step down was insane. But it was the no-name defense that was ridiculously good that year. And partly it was the hustle. Everyone was flying to the ball, going in, making tackles and making proper tackles. And that is Rod Marinelli all over. And the fact that they've continued that to these two young guys, or these three young guys, plus Sean Lee, is insane. No one wants to play this linebacking core, I don't think. Anyone who says, they're willing to go up against it, they're either very, very brave or they're very, very stupid. But then that's rolled into then the secondary because
our next group.
I don't think anyone's going to want to play them either, really, with the way they've been going. And I said last time, going into the season or into training camp, it was looking like the question mark on the team, and now it's completely flipped. They're looking really good, and Byron Jones is only just starting to come back.
So ironically, that was going to be you segued straight into it there. So so we obviously, one of the issues coming into the season was safety. People saying, and I don't know if you remember back when we did the UK draft in London. One of the players we took was a safety because that's how we were looking at. But it actually turns out now that we've kept 5 safeties: Xavier Woods, Jeff Heath, Dorian Thompson, who's going to be more of a special teams guy. Then my boy, our Aggies rookie, Donovan Wilson, and Kayvon Frazier actually stays. A couple of surprise cuts for me, Alumba and Michael Jackson. But for you guys, I mean, we'll start with you, Graham. Anyone on the defensive backside that you're eager to see, or you're happy that have made the final cut?
I think when you consider that George Aloka, he was brought in the off season, and let go to push. I've read on some sites it was to push the GOAT, as some of the group members call him. Experienced guy. He's been a starter, but he just the arrow seems to have gone downward red pretty quickly. Again, Donovan Wilson, you've got to take a hat off to the boy. 3 interceptions, got his opportunity and grasped it with both hands. It's good to see. Game time, I hope he gets some, because he's earned it. But if we need to put our best guys out there, when you consider, the trials that we went through in the past, really, really encouraging to see a a defensive backfield like ours. You know, again, another exciting area of the team. Can't wait to get going. And you know, it's gonna try not to get too carried away, but you know, this is all without Byron Jones.
Yeah.
The guy that broke records at the combine and has done well ever since, and yeah, quite exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm totally with you. The only other note now before we finish off is we still have a wide receiver, Noah Brown. They decided to put on PUP. So as we know, they got the 8 weeks to play with that to decide what they do there. On IR that they put on for the year already, and that's done and dusted. We've got defensive end Jalen Jelks, wide receiver John V. Johnson, defensive tackle Daniel Ross, which I'm kind of happy they done because I don't think they want to let him go. Quarterback Chris Westry, and the ex-Rams guard Cody Wichman. So, of any of them, are you hoping they come back next year to have another crack at? Which guy? Any of them?
John Veyer. Out of all of those guys, all the positions they play, interestingly, they are all arguably positions of strength on this team. The only thing that's not there is linebacker.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting way for them to look at it moving forward, which goes to show that just because they're happy at the minute with their offensive line, they're happy with the wide receiver core they got now, they're happy with who they've got at guard, they're still planning, still prepping, still looking forward, which is why this front office is one of the best. One thing we forgot to say earlier, I've just noticed when I was scrolling through Twitter is obviously Amari Cooper's back in practice today. Very, very positive. He said that he had as a rookie, I think it was, when he was younger, he had an injury that was a lot worse than this, and he said it was painful to cut. He could still cut, but it was painful when he cut with that injury, which I believe was also plantar fasciitis. This time around, no pain. So he's going to wait and see how it goes. Obviously tomorrow, more than anything, because after his first practice today, going to wait and see how it goes tomorrow. But initially, touch wood, it's looking okay. And Zach Martin's basically turned around. I've just seen as well and said in an interview with Fish from 105.3 that if Zeke's not there, then basically that's it. They'll roll with it. They'll deal with it. They'll pick up the slack, as he said, from Zeke not being there in terms of motivating everyone. So, yeah, I mean, I still think he's there. If he misses one game, I'm not massively worried, depending on the outcome. But realistically, if we walk away with an L, with or without Zeke, after that first game, I think there's issues anyway.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, we'll finish off here now, and then we'll wrap the show up. But Graham, you got anything to add about that 53, or in terms of what you expect Zeke to do by Sunday?
I stop me if I go on a bit of a rant here, but I take issues with players with effectively 2 years left on their contract. Not just with the Cowboys, but across the wider NFL. Where does this stop? I think I've said in the UK Cowboys fans group that if a QB of any starting team turns up tomorrow at practice and says, "I'm not playing without a new deal," where does it end? You know, like, teams have to draw the line somewhere. I'll also say at this point that I do believe that we will beat the Giants with or without Zeke. But if we go and lose another game without Zeke, that makes his bargaining position so much stronger. So it already puts pressure on the guys we have just now. You know, Tony Pollard, he's come in and done his best, and I think if we have to roll without Zeke, then it's just going to have to be the way of it, because you can't have players going against their contract. If you don't like the contract, don't sign it. Now, I get that Zeke is doing so much for the team. We will struggle without Zeke. I want to say that. We will struggle without Zeke. But it's a dangerous game to play when you start rewarding players with new deals with two years left. example I made in the group, what if Baker Mayfield threw in the towel to the Browns? I want 27, 26, $25 million or I don't play. Are the Browns really going to go into a season like this one? You know, there's ludicrous talk of them going to the Super Bowl, for goodness sake, and then Baker Mayfield says, no, I don't want to play without $25 million in my pocket. Where does it end? You know, I get it. It's a rhetorical question. I'm not, you know, we're not GMs.
We could talk for hours about that. You know,
oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I do think you have to take into account the fact that the CBA is about to expire.
There is that too.
Moving into the next CBA after this season, so I kind of think that's played a bigger part than everyone appreciates potentially in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Coop's very laid back. Dak's very laid back. He's the man. He knows he's going to be the man. He knows he's going to sign. We know he's going to sign. He's perfectly happy for it to drag out as long as it takes. Even if he gets franchise tagged, he's going to get a lot of money anyway, and he's still going to get a good deal afterwards. So he's not worried. Coop is just a laid back kind of guy. I think he's fairly team friendly. So hopefully, touch wood, that'll be the case. Zeke always was really going to be the issue.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah. Which pains me to say it, but he probably was because he's got a short shelf life and they've got the CBA coming up. So.
Yeah. I mean, that is the issue. I mean, you're talking more of the position than the player, really. You know.
Yeah.
But on that bombshell, we have got to wrap things up here.
Sorry, guys, just had to get that off my chest.
No. Of course, that's
fine. I agree. You gotta people sign contracts. You gotta honor it, even if it's a rookie contract. It's like, nah, play it out, then get your big contract afterwards. Like a year early, fair enough. 2 years early, when we got all this stuff riding on it, and we really need you to be in camp, not the best idea.
But there we go. There we have it. But by tomorrow, things may have all smoothed over, and we'll be back on track. But for this week, guys, thank you both very much for coming on and spending your time to do this. It was the post 53 show. I don't know what you want to call it. But don't forget, whatever you want to call it. But don't forget, there is the pre-game show coming Thursday, where they're going to look at the Giants for the first game, where it's just going to be an annihilation. It is on Sky as well, so don't forget you can tune into that. You don't need your Game Pass, but it'll be blacked out anyway. But for all of us this week, thank you very, very much for coming on, and we'll see you all again.
See you soon, guys.